Jack, what does it take to like be great as a salesperson in this industry?
I think you've got to want to not be average first. I mean,
sure,
society wants you to kind of stay here, wants to distract you, wants to keep you on your phone. You really have to put yourself out there if you don't want to be average. So I think the first thing you have to decide is mindset. And then what are your actionable items after that?
Yeah.
Do you have a plan to get there? Or are you still on Instagram thinking, oh, I'm going to have this amazing house in California, but you don't really want to do the work, or you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So you got to have the mindset, and then you got to put plans together and then execute, and you need good people around you as well.
Yeah, how cool. So Lewis, like one of the cool things is like you specifically chose to work here. You went through the interview process.
Yeah.
You didn't give up. You kept going back, coming back here. So like, why did you choose to come work here?
Well, time frame was perfect.
Sure.
Essentially, was for starters, and then it was just time for something different, a change for myself to improve not only my lifestyle but the lifestyle of my wife and kids.
Sure.
After speaking with Jack, spoke with Jim, which is our used car director, and then met with Kirk, which is our owner, I just found that this can be the right culture for me. I'm not a big person of change. So I knew my next decision was going to be a big decision and one that I can live with for a while, right? Yeah. Prior to coming here, I was at a Toyota store for 8.5 years.
Sure.
And I was kind of successful there, but again, I just wanted something a little bit more. I was kind of at a steady float. So spoke to them and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I know I can.
Yeah.
And once they gave me the opportunity, I just did everything I could to prove to them that they made the right decision.
Yeah.
So.
And it's clear like that they did make the right decision, and you did make the right decision too. There's so much intentionality that goes into choosing to do something, and then also like showing up every day and doing that over and over and over again. If you look back over like the last 4 years, how hard has it been to succeed to get to where you're at now?
Well, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right? Like Jack stated, it all starts with mindset. So, I'm more of a routine kind of person. Like every morning is the same for me. I wake up, I have my coffee, do my thing.
Yeah.
And then I arrive here 20, 30 minutes early so that way I can make sure I'm not rolling into my day right when I'm supposed to be rolling into my day. I like to be a little bit ahead of the game.
Sure.
Whether it's texting the client that's supposed to come in at 10 o'clock or, sending emails that I didn't send out the night before. I just always like to be one step ahead of where I should be at that given time.
Yeah. If you look at your leadership like Jack and at Jim, what are some things about them that really make them the 95% of people, the 5% who are not average also? Because they're not average leaders. They're above average.
I 100% agree. They're not just bosses, essentially, right?
Sure.
They hold that title, but they're right here with us. If we need any guidance or, coaching, we can always come to them with open arms, right? Hey, Jack, this is what I'm kind of facing. Can we feed off each other? And he'll give me advice that I'm like, well, I didn't think about that. Boom, and it works.
Yeah.
But I would say that's the biggest thing that they bring to the table is they don't hold themselves above us, right?
Sure.
They're right here on the grind with us day in, day out.
Yeah, how cool. So Jack, something that you've done is you're so intentional about developing your team, helping them get to the next level, providing the right resources or the right training. How do you help someone to not just be like a top performer once, but like they can do it over and over and over again?
Well, I think Lewis is a perfect example. Like when Lewis came on board, we raised his standards. And then he got there pretty quick and did a great job.
Yeah.
It drives him crazy all the time, but we just raise him all the time. and we have some tough conversations. I mean, we had a real tough conversation about a week or so ago, and I'm like, will you stop asking me, Lewis? I was like, I'm asking you.
What would you do?
What would you do? And he's like, well, I'm coming to you for the answer. I'm like, no, you're in my seat. What do you do? Well, let's figure it out. And I put it back. And that's just about raising standards all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you do well, you develop. You want to give yourself a pat on the back, but just as he does well, I'm like, all right, Lewis, come on, next gear, next level. But he likes that, and he needs that, and I need that too as well, because otherwise I'm going to get complacent. So I'm like, okay, how can we develop Lewis more, get him involved in maybe more of the manufacturer side of things, even some of the building the cars, asking recommendations, doing help me with some of the admin stuff, and just getting a little bit more well-rounded. What else can we teach you? What else can you learn? And just seeing them grow as well.
Yeah, and before we started rolling, Jim gave you huge props, Lewis, on before you used to just focus on the used car side. And now like you've developed so much of this new car knowledge and new car clientele base so that you can have 3 or 4 deals before the deal even starts, or the month even starts. I can only imagine there's been a lot of work and effort that has gone into that, so that those deals and those customers are taken care of before the month even starts. That's cool. Well, what about like, if you look at that, how did you develop that, and how did you go from just doing the used side of it to learning the new side, learning what's coming in, and what advice would you give other people who want to do the same thing?
So one, you got to know what you have, right?
Sure.
You got to know the cars. They're beautiful cars, and people, although they do sell themselves, people still want to be sold one way or another. And that's what a lot of sales executives, in today's day, where, when it was COVID, it was easy to sell a car, right? Because everybody wanted a car that they couldn't have.
That's right.
Market's kind of shifting. So those car sales executives that started, right at the midst of COVID, where things were up here, you see they're kind of dwindling them way out of the door, because they don't know the brand, they don't know the product, they don't know what's standard, what's an option on what side of vehicles. So first things first, you got to know what you're selling.
Yeah.
And then make it all about them, right? So I have clients where, I sold a car to my first, second month here, and I'm still selling them cars today. I'm selling their family members cars today, because I did well with getting to know them and their wants and needs versus just trying to sell them anything that I had available.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right. Jack, one of the things that you've mentioned before is that a lot of times people that are buying a higher end vehicle, that's like a celebration for them. And I mean, even if it's any type of vehicle, a lot of times they're celebrating something, a new job.
Yeah.
They made a transition to a new career. They finished schooling that they've been working on for 7-8 years. There's something that they're celebrating in life. And it seems like your team just does a great job of understanding them and meeting them where they're at and being able to celebrate that with them.
Yeah, we're just blessed to be part of the journey with them. We want to find out what the journey is. That the Range Rover Sports purchase that they might have just completed might have started 10 years ago. It might have started here. We sell a lot of entrepreneurs, local business owners, and if they're a plumber, they might have started with just their tools, and then they get a van, and now they have 150 people working for them. They're super successful, and it's cool to see that journey, and we're there to celebrate success. And just to go back on what Lewis was saying about making the car purchase about the clients, is sometimes how we get those. So sometimes people aren't necessarily in the market for those vehicles, and I think it's our job, especially with the inventory rising a little bit, is to put them in the market for those cars. So Lewis might have sold a Range Rover Sport to a customer a couple of years ago, and it might be gray with all black wheels, might be the coolest thing ever. But when he sees that new transport truck rolling off, and we've got a Carpathian gray,
Christmas in July.
When we've got a Carpathian gray Range Rover coming in, it's a full size, it's a step up for the person you saw 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Lewis is out there texting pictures. Hey, Mike, saw this car, thought of you. And even if they don't end up buying that, the fact that they've got a car guy going, man, that's kind of cool, because they're at work, they're hanging out at the gym and going, hey, check my man Lewis sending me pictures of this. What do you think? And they get giddy with that excitement. And we do a good job here. We call it Southshoring it up, and it's all about that passionate energy, being on our front foot, thinking about the customer, and just having a great time.
Yeah. Well, what I love about what you said is you're not like texting someone and saying, hey, buy this car because it came in. It's like, hey, I was thinking about you. Like, this one came in. I know you had one that was close to that, and it just reminded me of you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, and like it sounds like you just leave it at that, because like just the fact that you're thinking of them, and the customer understands that you're being intentional about reaching out to them about something, and they appreciate that. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and that ties in again with just knowing who they are.
That's right.
What their likes are.
Exactly.
It just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing that you said was that dream or that idea of buying that car might have started 10 years ago, which is true. Sometimes we have to wait 8, 9, 10 years to like finally get what we want and what we've been dreaming of for something every single night.
Yeah, and we have to, and their expectations are high, and we need to meet them, and then we need to bring them up even higher. We need to exceed the expectations and just do everything we can to make it as special as possible.
Yeah, no, exactly. So if you look at like the relationship you have with your customers, I mean, you probably text with them very often. It's not like you just text with them like on their birthday because your CRM says so.
Most of my clients have my cell phone number,
Yeah.
and they know that they can call, text at any given time. I'm off Wednesdays and Sundays. I'll get calls Wednesdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
I'll come to work if, hey, Louis, today's my only day available. I'll be here for them.
Yeah.
Just as much as they're here for me. So.
Yeah, and it's great when you have that kind of relationship with them. I can imagine, too, when they're in for service, like you probably know before they even come in.
When they're coming in and what they're coming in for, yeah.
Exactly. That way you can meet them, you can greet them, you can say hi, or you can help with, I don't know if you do pick up or drop-offs, but a lot of times there's so much that comes into building that relationship.
Yeah. So, example, I have a good client of mine. He owns the Dunkin' Donuts right up the street here.
Yeah.
Drove the car in the morning. Car had a flat. Luckily, he had a second vehicle there. He called me. I said, no worries. I'm sending somebody over right now with an air compressor. We'll bring it. Tire and wheel warranty. Covered it. Drove the car right back to his home that evening.
Wow.
And he was the happiest guy in the world.
Yeah. And now
I got a free coffee out of the deal, so I'll take it. I love my coffee.
Yeah. You'll get the next one, Jack.
He don't give me any coffee. He likes me, but not that much.
Yeah, but I can only imagine there's a lot of times where you can take an interaction like that might have been sour and turn it into something great. And Jack, you probably see that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we're in an interesting industry, but if we've got a chance to be a hero, be the hero.
Yeah.
With the cape on. You know, make it easy. He's a local business owner. He's got enough to deal with. He's got 25 of his own staff to deal with. Up that, if he can call one person and know it gets handled, he's going to continue to buy cars from us, and that's the relationship selling that we strive for.
Yeah. Well, Louis, if you could give someone that's a salesperson advice on how to not just be average, like what would you tell them? What are like 2 or 3 things that you've learned over the last couple years?
Top 3 things, and they're super simple.
Sure.
1, stay hungry, stay coachable, and keep the want for more.
Sure.
I would say. A lot of people, as I stated earlier, you know, kind of like I was at Toyota, just become stagnant. Want more. You know, me and Jack were just having a conversation earlier, and I forgot what it was exactly it was about, but my response was, I'm just trying to get 1% better.
Yeah.
Oh, the V-Auto thing. He's like, oh, you uploaded pictures? I'm like, yeah, just trying to be 1% better a day.
He's uploaded pictures of his trade already. I was like, you've never done that before, Lewis. He's like, I'm just getting 1% better. I'm like, you are getting 1% better. That's awesome. I don't have to do my job now. And I'm like,
that's
easy.
cool. Yeah. Something so simple though, like you're finally doing one thing that could like improve things. And the reason you're uploading pictures of your trade isn't to just do it. Like there's something else that can actually come from that. So it might seem like a simple step, but either you or your team benefits, or maybe that makes it easier for Jack or for Jim when they're appraising something. But I can only imagine that it just makes life so much easier when you do that.
Well, for me, the way I looked at it was, 1, I wanted to know the car.
Sure.
Right? And then 2,
That's true.
It does make the process a little bit more seamless, because it saves him time from having to go outside and do what I could have done while I was already outside scanning the VIN and checking the miles. Take a couple extra pictures, know where the scratches are at. So that way it's simpler for him to say, okay, this is where you're at.
Yeah.
This is the value on the vehicle. Now let's find a way to make a deal.
Yeah, and then you know the story that much deeper. So Jack, like same thing, if you were coaching your team, if you were giving advice to either like other coaches or other salespeople across the country, what advice would you give them, like 2 or 3 things where they could do so that they can just stop being average?
Well, the first thing, my message to my own team is we got to self-shore it up. You know, if we don't want to be average, we got to self-shore it up, which means we have a smile on our face, we're on our front foot, we open up the door for people, and we're super excited that they're here, and we want to help them celebrate. The second probably piece of advice for people outside of our dealership is find a good mentor. There are a lot of bad people in this industry, but there's a lot of great people now, and they're coming to light. Find a good mentor. Find someone who's done what you want to achieve. Follow them and just ask questions, because I'll tell you what, that person who you might look up to will enjoy mentoring you, and they'll enjoy coaching you, and they'll get a kick out watching their success as well. So really find a good mentor, and there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, how cool. Well, I know you would be proud of this. So in a different episode, we interviewed Tabitha. And Tabitha was actually the one that greeted me this morning when I came in. Now, she didn't know me from Joe. I opened the door. She smiled at me, made eye contact, and said, oh, hey, thanks for coming in. And as I got closer, I knew who to talk to. And she said, what are you here for? And I said, I'm here to see Jack. And she's like, great. I'm going to go get him right now. Come over here and like hang out for a second. Like that was just like like amazing. And she didn't know who I was. I could have been a customer. I could have been a vendor. I could have been trying to like cold pitch something, like, but she treated me so kind and was just so welcoming about that. So she definitely shorted up.
Good.
As she should.
Yeah, that's right. So Lewis, Jack, thanks for joining me today and taking a few minutes out of your day.
Awesome. Thank you.